Hey there, I'm Lord Farquaad, and today's tutorial will be about making a simple UI that displays when a player joins a server and has some basic information on it. So the first thing we gotta do is go into packages, and as you can see I have just the default packages. Let's make a new folder. So this UI is going to display a couple things. It's going to display the player's name as well as date and time. Now the date and time are actually going to be the date and time of the server. So in order to do that, the server has to actually send some information to the client when they join, and we're going to get into that. So this will also cover some networking events between server and client and the UI and all of that and how that works. So we're going to call this time UI. Go in here, and I'm going to go a little bit fast through making all these files because I covered these in a previous tutorial, so you can find that in the description. So main.js, package.json, and then a client package, and copy these guys, put them in there, and then we can also make a UI folder and put our UI in there, index.html, and that's fine. You can also make more files like CSS, JavaScript, etc. But for now, this is fairly simple, so all we need is the HTML. So now let's open that up in code, and let's get this stuff set up. So package.json, name is time UI, author is Lord Farquaad, and then the version is 1.0. Copy this and put it in the client side package.json as well. So first thing we want to do is when a player joins the server, we need to send them the server's current time. So how are we going to do that? Well, go to the docs. As always, we must consult the docs. And we go to server and events. Which one looks like it's when a player joins the server? Oh, player ready. What does that do? Let's find out. Doesn't have a description. Okay. Well, what it does is player ready is fired when the client has loaded all of their client-side files for that specific package. So this is exactly what we need. After they load their stuff, we're going to have this event fire, and then we're going to send them the data that we need. So we can just copy this code and use it right here. So after we have this, we want to send them the current time of the server. So in order to do that, JavaScript has a built-in thing called time. So it's actually called new date, and this will give us a date object of the current time, date, everything, all that information on the server. So wherever the server is located, whatever the time is on that machine, is what this is going to be. Except we don't want that. We don't want to send that to the client. That's way too much data. We only need one part of that. And the one part of that we need is the time. And in order to get the time, we need to use date.getTime. And it says gets the time value in milliseconds. So that is exactly what we need. And that's not just the time of milliseconds per day. It's the time of milliseconds since epoch, which is 1970, January 1st. Yeah, so it's a very big number, but that's what we need. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to send it to the client, and then the client is going to use that to construct a new date object. And then from that, we can get all the information such as day, time, etc. So now how do we send an event to the client? How do we send information? Well, if we go to the docs and we go to communication between packages, you can look down here we can see sending an event from the server to the client. That's exactly what we want. So the server sends an event using jcmp.events.callRemote, while the client receives the event by registering a handler using jcmp.events.addRemoteCallable. Please read the documentation for examples. So I'm going to use that. jcmp.events.callRemote. And the first parameter is the name of the argument, or the name of the event. Let's call it time UI/sync, because we are syncing the time from the server to the client. And the second argument is who you want it to be sent to. You can specify the player if you want it to be sent to a specific player, and you can say null if you want it to be sent to everyone. We're just going to send it to each player as they join, because if we send it to null, which means everyone on player ready, every single time a player joined, it would be sent to everyone on the server. That's not what we want. And now we need to send the time. So now that we have that done, we can head over to the client. So this is going to call this event to be sent to this player with this argument. Okay, let's head over here. So how do we receive an event from the server? Well, if we go back to the docs, we use jcmp.events.addRemoteCallable. Okay. So the first parameter is the name of the event, and the name of the event is the same as this one because we're calling this event. Put it in there, and the arguments that we're receiving is this. We are not receiving the player. The player is the target. We do not receive the target because we are the target. Everything past here is sent though. So if we had more arguments like time, var1, var2, var5, whatever, we can have as many arguments as we want, and they'll all be received on the client, but we do not receive the player. So our argument is time. And now what do we want to do with this? Well, we want to send it to our UI so we can display it and do all that stuff. But we don't have a UI yet, so we need to make one. So let's add a few lines up here, and let's go back to the docs to figure out how to make a UI. So we go to Web UI window. You can create one using this. It takes in the name, call it whatever you want. These names have to be unique. If you have a same name of a UI window, it will give an error, and then the window will not load. Location is where it is. Most windows will be loaded from packages, so just like this. And then the size of the window, you can make it whatever size you want. Let's copy this. Paste it in. And let's split it into a couple lines so we can see all the ones. Okay. Let's make it const because we will not be modifying this. So const web UI window, let's just call it UI. Const UI equals new web UI window. My UI, let's call it time UI. And package, my package, that's not the name of our package, it's actually time UI. Index.html. Well, if you go into UI, there it is. So that is exactly what we want. New vector 2, jcmp.viewportsize.x, y. So that'll just make it as big as the screen, which is fine. We don't need to adjust that. So now that we have our UI, we can call an event to our UI. There are two ways to do this. If we look in here, the communication between packages, you can see sending an event from the client to CEF UI. Well, that's exactly what we want to do, because this is the client right here, and then inside here is the UI. So we want to send an event from here to here. Client, UI. So the client sends an event using jcmp UI to call event, and it registers, and the UI uses jcmp.ui to add event. This is actually wrong. It's just jcmp to add event in the UI. There's also another way to do this, but we're not going to do that right now. So it's jcmp.ui.call event and the name of the event. So do time UI/UI/sync. So we know that this is going to the UI just for clarity, so you know exactly where everything's going, what's happening, and then the arguments. So we're going to send time. Alright, so now that we have that, we need to go receive the event in the UI. Well, we don't actually have anything yet, so let's make a simple page. So HTML, we'll put a script in here, script, put our script in here, and then we can also have a body, and then inside the body, we can just have some text. Well, we don't need anything yet. We can just have a body. So now, for the script, we need to receive this event. So how do we do that? Okay, so it said, sending an event, see if, yes. So we need to add event using this, except that's not correct. You actually do it like this. And then the name of the event, so the name of the event was time UI says sync, put that in there. And then the arguments, so what argument do we have? We have time. And then we need to do stuff with this time. So what we want to do is construct a new date object and then use that to display the time. So we could have let date, and what else do we want? We could have player name. Let player name, because we're also going to have the UI display the player's name. So it'll say hello, whatever their name is, and then it'll say today's date is this, and the time is this, etc. So we need to use the time to construct a new date. So date equals new date time. And that'll give us the date object that matches the exact same one that was created on the server using this. Except instead of no parameters, we are going to use the time. And that will give us a date object that matches this one. However, it's only going to match for a millisecond, and then it'll be wrong. Because the time on the server keeps going, time on the client keeps going, and this date object just stays as it is. So how do we fix that? Well, there's a bunch of ways to fix that, but one way is to have a variable with, let's call it sync time, and you can set sync time equal to time. So now we have just the time variable stored on its own, not in the date object, and then each second we can increment sync time by 1,000 milliseconds, which is 1 second, and that'll keep it aligned with the server time. So in order to do that, we can just do set timeout and 1,000 seconds. So every 1,000 seconds this will be called. We actually need to change this to set interval. I just do set timeout because it does the whole autocomplete. So we need to do set interval every 1,000 seconds, or every 1,000 milliseconds. Whatever in here will be called, and this will just repeat forever. So what do we want to do every 1,000 milliseconds? Well, we want to do sync time plus equals 1,000. And then we want to create a new date. So date equals new date sync time. And that's going to give us a new date that matches the one on the server. Plus or minus milliseconds because of network lag, but there's no issue there. So now that we have all that done, we need to make it display in our body. So how do we do that? Well, I like to design my UIs in Google Chrome before I actually go into game. So if you go into Google Chrome and you just drag this file in there, you can see here it is. There's nothing really to see. So we say, hello, Bob. And then put some line breaks. Well, actually, we don't need line breaks. Hello, Bob. 2 days. date is 10/5/18, and the time is 15. So this is what we want to have it say. It doesn't say that right now. I mean, it does, but that's not accurate. That's not today's date and time. If we go over here and we refresh the page, we can see, oh, hello Bob, today's date is that and the time is that. Okay, so that's what we want to happen. We can see it's visible. Okay, let's make it a little bit bigger and a little bit better. So we can do some inline styling. So style equals font size. Let's do 40 pixels and do color purple. And then we can also do top 50%, and then left, let's do like 25%. That'll just offset it a little bit. So if we go back here, refresh, hello Bob. Oh, and we also need to do position fixed. So if we refresh, it'll be down here in the center-ish. So that's fine. We're just doing a little test package. You can see that. And let's make it bold too. Bold. There we go. Okay, so now it's really easy to see. We can see exactly what's happening. Okay, so now we want to modify that. Okay, so in order to replace the text in the body, we can use something document.body.inner HTML, or actually inner text. We'll use text for now. Equals. So we're basically going to take this but modify it a little bit. Paste it right in there. And now there's one thing that we need to do. We need to surround it with backticks. Actually, no, there's a better way to do this. So we can actually get rid of this for now. And you can see there's two places where we create a new date. And every time we create a new date, we want to update the body's text. And since we do it in two places, we should create a function to make it easier. So we can do function update body. And this will just update it with all of our date info. Put what we wrote back in there. And make sure to surround this with backticks. Be very important. So first says, hello Bob. We will get to that later, the player's name. Today's date is, so first it says month, day, year, because I'm American. If you're in the rest of the world, then you have day, month, year. And then here we have hours, minutes, seconds. So let's start with this. So we want to get the current month. So in order to insert strings into backticked created strings, we use this syntax. So whatever you're writing here must be a variable, such as, let's say, sync time. If I put sync time, it would put the actual value of sync time right in here. But that's not what we want. We want the current month. Okay, so in order to get month, we can go up here because I want autofill. We can do dot gets the day of the month. Well, no, that's not what we want because we're American. So we want the month. So we can say get month. So it's just date dot get month. Okay. Let's use that. Date dot get month. So now we want the day. Get day. Oh, wait. Do we want get date or get day? So get day gets day of the week using local time. And get date gets day of the month. Day of the month is what we're looking for. So we want get date. So we do this again. We do date, get date. And now we need the year. If we go over here, I'm assuming it's get year. Oh, there's two of them. Get full year gets the year. Gets the year using UTC. Let's just do get full year. Okay. So right here we'll do date dot get full year. And now we want the time. So let's get, okay, so we have get hours, get minutes, and get milliseconds. What do we need? We want hours, seconds. Nah, we don't really care about milliseconds. Oh, just hours and seconds. Okay. So get hours. Let's just get hours. That's exactly what we need. Let's go over here. Date.get hours. And then we need the seconds. And that was get seconds. It's the seconds. That's exactly what we want. Let's use that. Date.get seconds. And that should be good. So that should give us the month, the day, the year, and then hours and seconds. And that should update every time we do this. So let's do that. So we'll put it here, and we'll put it here. And don't forget to get rid of this. So now what does that do? Okay, so we receive the time, we create a new date with that time, we update our body text, and then every second we increment the time, we create a new date, and then we update the body again. And every time we update the body, we use the date which we've updated. So it should all work. Let's try it out. Let's go over here, go back over here, start the server, and see if there's any errors. No errors, time UI loaded. Okay, let's connect. And it crashed. Okay, so we're in game. I don't see our UI. We should have big purple text in the middle of the screen. Why don't we? Well, there's a couple things we can do to find out. First of all, we can go to Google Chrome, and we can go to localhost 13172. And this gives us all of our CEF or UIs that are created on the server or in game. So as we can see, our time UI index has actually been loaded. Let's see if we have any errors in here. Go to console. Failed to load resource. Index.html. So it couldn't load the HTML file. Why is that? Okay, so if we go back over here, a UI is obviously getting made, but it said it couldn't load it. So if we look at how we're making it, right? We got the name, that's fine. Package, time UI / index. Oh wait, that's not where it is. It's in the UI directory. So we have to go /UI. Save that. And now let's try. Open up the server, connect. Oh, there it is. Hi Bob, today's date 10/5/18. Time is 59. So apparently something's not working. It didn't update anything. That's just what we have written in the index. So why is that? Well, there's a couple reasons. So we can again use the developer tools to see if everything's working correctly in the UI. If we go to elements, we can see that it's properly loaded our script, and we have everything here. Console shows no errors, but we don't know if this event actually is called. So let's put some prints in there. So we can do console.log time UI called. So now when this is called, it'll print it out so we can see if it's actually called. But we want to go a little deeper. So let's go over here, player ready. Let's make sure this is being called too. So we can do console.log sent player info. And then we can also put a print in the client side. So we can do jcmp dot print received time UI, right? Okay, so now let's exit the server, do that, and then restart the server, wait for it to close. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so we still have the same error. It doesn't tell us anything, but now we have the prints in place, so let's check those. So if we go to the server, it says send player info. Okay, so it's sending the info. So now let's check the thing, see if it printed correctly. Now the logs here, where JCM print goes to, you can find here. So C, users, username, app data, local. So if you want to get here really fast, all you have to do is get rid of this and type %local app data %, and that'll get you right in there. All you have to do is type that at the top of your browser. So just click up here and then put that in. So once you're there, open up scripting.log, and what we're looking for is we're looking for receive time UI. So what we can do is just put that right in there, start from the bottom, and go up, find next, oh, receive time UI. Okay, so it's receiving the event from the server, so that's good. So the problem must be that this isn't receiving our event. So let's go into the developer tools again and see if it received the event properly. So go in here, console, it didn't receive it. Now why is that? Well, there's a reason for that. It's because we receive the event so quickly that our UI isn't properly made yet. And therefore, we're calling the event before it's made, and then it can't receive it. So then it's never received, and nothing happens. So we have to fix that. What we can do is we can call an event from the UI once it's been made, and that event will tell the client to tell the server to send the data. So then we know that we're getting it after the UI has been made, and then it will function properly. So let's go to here. Okay, so we need to call an event after all this has been loaded. So let's go down here and go back to the docs. An event to CF UI to client. Okay, so we have to use jcmp.call event. This is actually right. And then use jcmp.ui to add event in the client. Okay, jcmp call event, and we'll just say I'm UI/UI/ready, because our UI is ready to do stuff. Okay. Then we go back to client package. We go down here, and what's the syntax again? It was jcmp. No, it was jcmp.ui to add event. Okay, jcmp.ui to add event. Put the name in there, and there are no arguments, so just leave it blank like that. And now we want to tell the server to send us data. Okay, so how do we send a message from the client to the server? Oh, sending an event from client to server. The jcmp.events to call remote. Oh, that's the exact same as sending from server to client. Okay, jcmp.events call remote, except there's one difference. On the server, we had to specify the player, the target, who we want this message to go to, but we don't do that here because the message is just going to the server, so we don't need to specify who it's going to. So we do need the name though, so time UI/ready, and we don't need any arguments actually, so we can just say that. We'll copy the name of the event, and now let's go to here. Now, how do we receive an event from client to the server? Well, we go here, it's the same thing. jcmp to add remote callable. So jcmp.events add remote callable, the name of the event in, and the first argument is always the player who sent it. And then if there are additional arguments, they would just be after that. So A, B, C, whatever. Yeah. But we didn't send any additional arguments. Actually, we didn't send any arguments. But if we had, we could have said like hello as a string, or 1, 3, or a variable, whatever. But we're not sending anything, so we don't have any additional arguments. It's just the player who sent the message. So we know that this player's time UI is ready, so we want to send them all the data. So what we can do is just copy all this, put it down there, and then get rid of this. So now, once the player's time UI has loaded, their actual UI, then we send them the data. So this should work. So let's try it out. Exit the server, open up a new server once that one closes. Disconnect from the server as well. Open this up, quick local connect. Oh, and now you can see it's working. So it says, hello Bob, today's date is 2/23/2018. As you can see, that doesn't quite match. Why is that? It's because the month is 0 based. So that means when it's January, it'll give you 0, and when it's December, it'll give you 11. Everything else is correct though. You can see that the seconds is working, it's counting up using our set interval, and you can see that the hour is correct, 23 hours, so 11 o'clock. So let's go fix, let's fix that month, and then let's also use the player's name in the UI, because we want it to say, hello player name, so it feels like a personalized message when they join. Let's do that. Exit that, close the server, go back over here. We don't need these debug messages anymore, so we can get rid of them. Yep, here's this one. Okay. So we want to do get month +1. So instead of being 0 for January, it'll be 1 for January. And now we want to use the player's name instead of Bob. So we want to get the player's name. There's a couple ways to do this. The easiest would be to do something in here. So this is when we get the data from the server after we've loaded the UI, right? So we want to find the player's name. Now, it's a little tricky to get the player's name, because if we go to local player, they don't have a name. So how do we get the name? Well, there's an array of players. If we go to JCMP namespace on client, and we go to players, it's an array of network players. And if we go to network player, you can see that it does have a name. So what we want to do is find our player, the local player, inside this array of network players, and then we can get that name and put it on there. So let's do that. So we go here, we do const my player equals jcmp.players.find, and then this is the player that we're searching, and we want, what do we want to check? We want to check that this player is the same as our player. Now we can do that using network IDs. Network IDs are unique IDs applied to every entity in Just Cause 3 multiplayer. And when the entity is destroyed, when it's deleted from the game, like when a player leaves, that ID can then be reused for something else. So for our purposes, we just need to find the ID that matches our ID, and we can actually do that. So p.network_id, so as you can see, it does have network ID. A little description here. P.network ID, and what does it equal? We want to find the player with the network ID that equals the local player's network ID, because that's us. So if we find the network player that's us, then we're good. So p.network_id equals jcmp.localplayer.network_id. And that's going to find us our player. Now we want the name of that. So down here, instead of just sending time, we're going to send time and myplayer.name. Now normally you would probably want some if statement in here checking that we actually found my player, but I'm not too worried about that right now. So now that we're sending time and our name, you go over here and we need to receive name as well, so name. And now we want to update that. So we already have a player name variable, we set that up earlier, and we need to use that. So we can do player name equals name, and that's going to set the variable to our player name. And then we need to use it, so down here, instead of Bob, use this again, and we just do player name. And that's going to give us hello Lord Farquaad, or hello whoever joins, and then it'll tell them today's date. So let's try that out. So open up the server, Click local connect. Hello Lord Farquaad. Today's date 3/23/2018 and time is 23:21. As you can see, that it is exactly what we wanted. Except it's actually not what we want. We want the minutes too. What am I thinking? Let's add the minutes real quick. And as you might have noticed, right when we joined, we saw the hello Bob. That's not what we want to see. We just want to see hello Lord Farquaad. We don't want to see Bob at all. So we can fix those couple things and then we'll be done. So instead of this, right here inside the body, we just get rid of that. Because we're setting the text right here, so we don't need placeholder text before it shows up. And then we also need to get the minutes. So make that get minutes. It's just minutes, yeah. So that's fairly simple. We can just do date.get minutes and then another colon and save that. And then close the server, wait for it to close. And then open it up again and quick local connect. And now you can see it's working as we want it to. We didn't see hello Bob, we see the date properly, we see the time in hours, minutes, seconds, it's counting it properly, and it's working as it should. So that concludes this tutorial. Please let me know in the comments if you have any other suggestions for tutorials, and I will see what I can do. I hope you found that interesting and informative.